Hi, tarot friends. It's Ultraviolet Morgan, and I'm here to talk about a little bit of tarot philosophy and my Tarot of Marseille, beautiful aged deck that I got. And it cut off just with 4 cards left to look at. So I'm just gonna take a look at these and also talk about a little bit of tarot philosophy and maybe read a little bit of the little white book, which kind of would have been neat if they had aged it just slightly. Not so that it would be hard to read, but I don't know, just in keeping with the rest of the packaging, but that's okay. That's alright. It's Halloween, so I'm munching on a little Halloween candy, which I shouldn't do because I'm going to be talking with my mouth full. Alright, well, I have a limited amount of recording space, so I better get to it. So here we have the 2 of batons, or wands, and the ace. Gorgeous freaking ace. It's beautiful. Oh, the yads. Okay. And the valet de coupe. So that is the page of cups and the knight of cups. Now, these are all out of order because when I was holding them to show you, they slipped out of my hand and they just kind of went crazy all over the place. So I'm going to start working with the Tarot de Marseille, and I just really love this deck, but I have so much respect for the historical decks, and I love the way the look of this, the aged look. One thing that really got me started, it's been in the back of my head for a long time, but someone asked in a group, what would be a good starter deck for a teenager? And so people are recommending all these really cutesy teen decks, and Everyday Witch is a really good deck, and it could appeal to a youthful side. And there's some other decks, Modern Witch maybe. But I was just thinking, when I was a teenager, the last thing I would have wanted was a tarot deck that was aimed for teenagers, or that some adult thought was cute. I don't know about teenagers these days, but I would have really wanted the most authentic looking deck. I would want the kind of deck that, when I'm watching a movie, a spooky movie, or a fantasy movie or whatever, and they pull out a deck, and they start reading someone's future or whatever, they want to call it, something that looked like that, something that was already in my head as what a tarot looked like, and something, like I said, that's very authentic. And I felt like as I was explaining this to the person in the thread, I could just feel that inside of myself, that my sort of younger self, my inner child or inner teenager or whatever, the way that made me feel kind of tingly and really excited about tarot. And so finally I was like, yeah, I gotta do it. I gotta take the plunge and get myself an aged Marseille deck, or an aged ancient deck. So I started looking some things up and I ordered this. Well, another thing too is that a lot of people are really intimidated by Marseille, and I would say that possibly Marseille isn't for everybody. Also, I'd like to say I think tarot possibly isn't for everybody. I feel like there's just a lot of right brain thinking that's kind of come into the tarot community. A lot of other things that annoy me. Trying to clean it up a little too much, make it a little too clinical and a little too respectable, kind of annoys me, you know. But anyway, I kind of lost what I was saying. So a lot of people, okay, so Yeah, I feel there's a lot of right brain and linear kind of stuff that's kind of creeping into the tarot community as tarot gets more and more mainstream. But also, so tarot Marseille is generally read quite a bit more intuitively. And there's actually a lot of modern attitude of against intuitive reading, and then it's not real reading and all of this sort of thing. And I think that comes a little bit more from an understanding of our Rider Waite based decks. Excuse me, now I have hiccups because of trying to eat that, covertly trying to eat that candy bar. Um, so yeah, the Marseille Tarot is by very, what's the word I want? Notable people in the Marseille community, um, considered to be more should be read more intuitively. And so when I first started learning tarot, I learned it. Um, I started learning it, and I learned a lot, but there was sort of a gap. You okay over there? And I'm gonna run out of space. I'm gonna have to do like a part two. So there was kind of a gap, I think. And then a few years later, I couldn't find my decks. I had moved a couple times, and I was starting to feel like I really wanted to use the tarot to connect with my intuition. And I feel like once I did that, it really bridged the gap for me. And I think that this is a better deck maybe for people who want to use the cards to connect with their intuition rather than just using the cards sort of standalone without intuition. But a lot of people will try to learn um, like the writer Waite Smith, because there's pictures, or well, these have pictures, but more scenic pictures in the pip cards, and then they feel like once they have those quote unquote memorized, um, then they can apply it to the Marseille Tarot. But see, that's a handicap, because when you start learning the Marseille, the first thing they're going to tell you is to actually try to forget all the things that you learned, because that's not how the Marseille Tarot is read, and it's a disservice to get your Marseille and just apply Rider Waite Smith's quote unquote meanings to the deck. So it's actually, I feel like we feel like we want to learn that other deck first, but yeah, I feel like it boxes us in a way that makes it actually